don't know about you, but I think it's a really cold night out there. So I was like, I'm wearing my big thick jumper and, feeling a bit like a woolly bear or something like that. So I'm just saying that really kind of get you to be here, present in this room, and sort of, say hello to yourself and say hello to the room and say hello to Wilma as well.
Hello.
Hello. Wilma's the Money Midwife, and basically I'm hugely looking forward to this because so many of us carry around so many beliefs and thoughts around money in various kinds of ways, and some of those thoughts and beliefs aren't exactly helpful. And so Wilma's here to tell us a lot about, well, all kinds of stuff really. Wilma, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Well, hello everyone. Are you all comfortable? Are you all warm? All ready to enjoy yourselves?
Yes.
Okay.
You
well,
seem to be in the dark.
I'm in the dark. That's not unusual.
Can anybody figure a light out at the back there somehow?
I shall smile brightly.
Smile worked.
There we go. Okay.
Under the one bit dark.
Oh, they're not quite working, but
Well,
never
shall I
mind.
stand here? Does that help?
Yeah.
Is that better? Okay. I want you all to feel really welcome to my talk, what I'm going to say, and to feel really relaxed about taking part, asking questions, butting in fact, turning it more into a conversation if you would like that. When I say something that, I will do Q&A at the end if we haven't covered stuff that you'd like to ask, but if you do feel the urge to ask something, don't be shy and don't feel sort of reserved about it, because it's really nice to have that interaction, I think. So first of all, that's an invitation to you to just feel relaxed, feel like you're sitting around a kitchen table with me or something, because I find that's the nicest way to talk to people, rather than to have any separation of me doing the talk, you being the audience. Just let's all mix in together and enjoy it, and get some questions answered. What I want to do is start rocking people's perception, rocking people's beliefs around money, what we can do with it, where it comes from, and why so many of us feel such a lot of fear about it. But before we dive into all of that, let me just explain a little bit about who I am, how I got to doing what I do, and why actually my journey might, I don't think you can really necessarily put a time scale on it, but why I've ended up here, specifically with money. So I don't come from Wales, right, really condensed life history. Born in Edinburgh, moved south when I was 1, brought up in the Midlands, nice public school education, lived in Wales for over 20 years. 2 husbands, and I'm now happily single. They are relevant to the story, actually. But partner number 2, the father of my children. This is really where the story starts, because I left him and decided that, and this actually I really only woke up to this fact relatively recently, I didn't want the conversation with money with him, because it was just going to be too traumatic. I didn't want the argument, I just didn't want the stuff. So I decided I'd do it on my own, which is fine. That's usually how I go and do things. If I haven't got any help, don't worry, sod you, I can sort it out myself. So I do. So I set up. I was drawn into somewhere along the way to network marketing. This sounded great. Get rich quick. I can do this. I've got 2 small children. I need some security. So off I barged into that, which of course was a dead end. Several dead ends later. I found coaching, but I found coaching through network marketing because the network marketing wasn't working. And so what I did was, well, if this isn't working, I've got to find a way to make it work. So I somehow came across an American coach, put some money into that, and found actually that I was with the wrong company, I was with the wrong people, and I was doing the wrong thing. I would far rather have been on the other side, asking all these incredibly personal questions, which I have permission to ask, and find out about everybody's life and their situation. But what came out of becoming a coach and setting up in what I call a proper business, where for the first time in my life actually I had a qualification, I then had to go on the business building route, which then brought my attention to money. And it was really interesting because having had a sort of a nice middle class upbringing, me and my sisters and my cousins were also lucky enough to have had a very wealthy maiden aunt who left us quite a large sum each. So we had some private money. It wasn't a huge stash, but it was there, and it allowed us not to necessarily have to go out and graft and do the work. And so I realised I didn't know how to earn money, which is an unusual thing possibly to own up to, but it's a fact. I went out from school with all sorts of entrepreneurial feelings, and I went door knocking for about 9 months, and did a really greasy sales job, doing door knocking on Wolverhampton and Telford, the sort of the less salubrious parts. But I earned my first car, so the instinct was there. And my dad finally said, "Oh, for goodness' sake, sell some shares," And so he kind of sort of, put my entrepreneurial doll back in the box, and so that was that for a time. So I also, this has been quite a journey for me because I haven't come from any corporate background or any official experience or training. My background is highly unusual, I think I can own up to. Me and my first husband in 1984, so the last time I had a job was in 1984. We planned a trip around the world on a motorbike, which we did, and took 3 years, 8 months to do that. We had some savings, we had our house rented, so there was no earning and work going on there. Then we came back and we restored a property, so I did an awful lot of physical work on that, loved it, still no income, still living off my private money. That died, and I went and lived in the Black Mountains, which is where I'm still close to now, and I have my home in the Black Mountains actually is now a holiday cottage. But I lived there for 4 years without electricity, and I was a potter. I made coil pots, nice big, beautiful vessels actually, and I smoke fired them. And then I met the children's father, who was literally dyed-in-the-wool sheep farmer, farming 2,000 sheep. So my baptism into business was incredibly naive, I think I can say. I just knew, I thought, I can do this, I will find a way, and I don't need anybody else. I will sort it out. So that was the arrogance and naivety of it all. So we come to this, the realising, how do some people make so much money so quickly and keep it all and invest it and just go on and grow it? How do some people never ever make any money at all and are constantly bumping along the bottom? Why do some people make an awful lot, lose it, and make it again? And so all of this I began to get really curious about, and then I started watching some of those, entrepreneurial programs, Dragon's Den and The Apprentice, and reading books and stuff. And I gradually woke up to the fact that my relationship with money was shite. I had it, but I didn't value it. I didn't respect it. I had all sorts of really, really unconscious beliefs about it. Dad had been great at telling us that we should never, ever, never spend your capital, and I agree, that's great. But we didn't, because he was a consultant in the NHS, he wasn't an entrepreneur, we didn't have any conversations around the dinner table of, do this with your money, and we didn't talk about money, basically. He would show us the columns of what the stockbroker had been doing, and this company, by which time we'd all gone like this. I've got 3 other sisters, and we just glazed over after Sunday lunch or something. So don't spend your capital was a good message, but we never got the other half of the education on how to go out and do it all. So I got really fascinated. So as I went through my coach, or developing as a coach and wanting to train and stuff, I trained as a spiritual master practitioner, which is a combination of master practitioner with NLP and energy systems and working with the higher self and the unconscious mind. And I then went on to train with an American coach with money breakthrough methods and the sacred money archetypes, which I will talk about, and the little different ones are up there on the board. So I've got quite a lot of knowledge now and experience of people's blocks, people's habits, what brings them down, how we sabotage ourselves, and it's a combination of things, I believe. So we've got the sacred money archetypes Kendall Summerhawk calls them sacred. I call them money archetypes. I'm not sure exactly where the sacred bit comes in, but an archetype is it's a psychological pattern of behaviour, and there are archetypes all over the place which we all have, and Kendall Summerhawk put these together specifically around money, and so they dictate, the combination dictates how we relate to money, how we can stop ourselves doing certain things, or why we have certain habits which really get us into trouble. Like one of my habits, until I realised why I did what I did, my top archetype is maverick. So it also happens to be that in almost every other archetypal thing. But the maverick likes to take risks. It likes to involve itself in risky financial situations, things that most other people probably wouldn't touch with a barge pole. Get rich quick, network marketing, I'll get rich quick. You know that. when I read my thing, I thought, oh, you know, it's like someone had taken the 2 before and hit me across the forehead. I thought, you know, that's why. But when you understand your combination of archetypes, it then allows you to harness the things that really work for you and manage the things that haven't been working really well for you. So they're a really key part, I think, of people's relationship with money. But then there's also your money story. So that is from when we're little, you know, the stories and the beliefs that we bring up and get brought up with and we take on. And they lie in the unconscious mostly, and our fear of things. You know, the economy thing. I'm going to have an argument with Adam Smith. I think, you know, the whole founder of the whole economy system. I need to read his book, and then I think I want to ultimately blow his theories out of the water, because the whole thing is based on scarcity. And for me, what I want to help people ultimately get to, and where I want to help them, is that there is no scarcity of it. It's perceived, and so that's that brings us back to the mindset thing. And then there's also your vision, which I think is really, it's quite a key part. I mean, not everybody has to have a massive vision, but it's that in conjunction with your money story and your archetypes and what you want what you want your legacy to be. If you can define that, then getting all those three together and getting them working in harmony is really powerful. When you've got your vision, it really pulls you towards what it is you want to achieve, and so it's very helpful to have that in order to unpick the money story and to understand how the archetypes work. So I do what I do because I want to help people really transform the way they act and feel and think around money, and that's what it's all about for me. It's about helping people feel good about what they do with their money. It's about helping people look at money as an observer rather than a subjective way, and feel, well, imagine if you thought of how you treat money, if you thought of the way you speak to money or the way you talk about money to your friends, if you thought of money as a friend, you know, how long would that friend stick with you if you spoke about your friend in the same way that you might speak about money? So actually, I'm just going to, I'm going to come back to that. And that's a little fun quiz that you can do just to find out roughly what you do. But what I want to do is, you know, we all have a money story. We all have beliefs, whether they're negative or positive, that we were brought up with. So I'd really like to get some feedback from you guys about what were some of the things you got brought up with. I'll stand in the dark to write this, but money doesn't grow on trees. Rich people are greedy, or rich people are bad. You know, what are some of the things that you can think of? You don't even have to have some childhood, but just what are some of the common things either you think about to yourself, or you hear other people saying and you kind of, you know, notice it?
Money is the root of all evil.
Oh yeah, exactly. Okay, that's right.
I didn't have credit in my day. That quote is actually the love of money.
Yes, it's incorrect, but that exactly, the love of money is the root of all. But actually, But I disagree with both of those.
Yeah.
So didn't have credit in my day. Yeah.
We had to work hard for what we got.
Sorry?
We had to work hard for what we got. We didn't have credit in my day.
You must have work hard.
Yeah.
We didn't have credit.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah, I was going to say, what did you make that mean? Yeah. Yeah.
Money makes the world go round.
Yeah. And what do you think about that? Does money make the world go round?
No.
But if you have no money?
Yeah, I think it does. Yeah.
I mean, I think you can take that one either way, can't you? I mean, if, well, you know.
The world will keep spinning no matter if you've got money or not.
Oh, in that sense, yes. Well, quite, yes. Yeah.
Save it for a rainy day.
Save it, yes, and you know, that is such a sad one. Because actually, people don't save because it's, you know, saving sounds gloomy, doesn't it? It's like, you know, if I save, something dreadful's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I turn it into growing. You know, people do create a bank account where you're going to grow it, and then that's a much nicer way to think about it, isn't it? So you can grow your money, and saving, I don't know, saving for a rainy day is just, you know.
Enjoy it while you're here.
Can't take it with you.
Live now, pay later.
Yeah.
Doesn't buy you happiness.
No.
It does buy you a better standard of misery.
Do you really believe that? Was that just you heard?
That's a joke I use.
Yeah. Buys you a better standard. Yeah. Well, I mean, but actually, there's so much truth in that, because some people think, you know, I do what I do, and I must only work with people who don't earn very much, and it's not.
Yeah.
It's not true at all, because, and this is why it's so important to help people change the way they act and feel and think around it, because you can be earning a huge amount of money and still be utterly miserable because you haven't made your peace with it, in the sense that you understand the energy around it, the fact that it comes from in here. And actually the raffle prize that we were talking about and I will be explaining about is actually a money meditation, which I will explain more about towards the end. But it is all about where it comes from. So we have a perception that it's all out there and we've got to go and get it, and then we're always chasing it. And we need it, and you end up with all that needy energy and that desperation and that chasing. And in fact, I remember having a real breakthrough moment with that a while ago now, but when I used to be on the farm, we had horses as well, and in fact it was even longer ago than that. I remember up on the Black Mountains, I used to take my greyhound up there, and I'd walk for miles up on the hills, and it's just a beautiful place. And it was a really beautiful summer day, and incredibly quiet, nobody else around, just me and the dog and the wild hill ponies. So I just lay down in the grass and just closed my eyes, and the dog lay down. And then probably about, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes later, this pony had just walked up, and it was just kind of sniffing down at me. And I just had this sort of, as a result, years later, thinking, the more you chase after money, it's like chasing after an animal in a field. You go and get an animal, I've got to get you, come here, and this thing's off the field acres away by the time you just don't get it, do you? As if you sit and you allow and you create a space, and it's all about just allowing that space. And the more you resist, the more resistance persists, and so you resist the fact you haven't got money, so you're out chasing it, and then your situation persists because you don't like it, and it comes back to, and it's easier said than done. I agree. That's why I work with people. But when you can accept the situation as it is, and fully open up into the fact that you haven't got as much as you'd really like, but that's for a reason. So what's the learning from the reason? And then it all starts to unravel, and you can unpick it, and it becomes much more easy and much more flowing. And then you don't wake up in the middle of the night at 4 o'clock in the morning with a sweat and thinking, oh God, what am I going to do? You become easier around it, and that's the key to changing your relationship with it. Is the emotional attachment or not, and the emotions you have around it. So, you know, I'm sort of rambling now, aren't I? But I know, I hope I'm making sense. Does anyone have a question, just to sort of slow me down?
Are you talking about the law of attraction?
Well, that comes into it, yes, definitely, because, you know, we are, well, I'm assuming you know about it, so we are all energetic beings, we're all connected, and it matters massively whether we're walking around every day in fear saying, I don't want to be in debt, because as we know, you know, if you type in, I don't want blue wellies into Google, you're going to get all the searches for blue wellies, and it's the same with sorry about all this agricultural stuff. Yeah, it's the same with saying what you don't want around money. It comes back to imagining, really getting your place into a place of really, really specific imagining what it's like to have the thing you want, getting into that feeling, because it's the feeling and the being of it which is going to create the magnetic match and the corresponding match out there, which is going to help change things. So it's a bit like, I always think all this personal development is a bit like brushing your teeth. If we don't brush our teeth all the time, they go furry and they fall out, don't they? It's just so the practice, it's a thing that we have to teach ourselves to do if we want to see consistent, positive and powerful change. It really matters. It isn't just something that you can read a book about and think, God, I read that was so good. And then a week later you wonder what it was all about, because you know, we have to choose to change our lives, and choosing to change your life around money is exactly the same as choosing to change your life around your weight or your relationship with a human being rather than money, or anything else. You know, the principles are similar, but I think money, more than anything, it's almost like how you do money is how you do everything else, because it pervades all of what we do. You know, we all need to exchange money to get the things that we want, and how comfortable we feel about doing that, and how at ease we are with doing it, then that's what starts to create the difference. Let me just see. So,
Wilma, can I just ask what those, I'm presuming there are 16 money archetypes?
no, there are 8, so
Oh,
two sides. I'm just going to come on to that.
Oh, right, okay.
It's Jackie, isn't it?
Thank you.
Nice. So yeah, so I'll talk a bit about the archetypes now. There are 8, and I'll just briefly explain them. There's one called the accumulator, and that, as you might assume, is the one where you're very closely connected to money. You love to accumulate it. You're typically good at paying attention to it. You like all the nitty-gritty of the figures. But with all the archetypes, they work, you know, on a scale of sort of the lowest expression up to the highest expression, and the plan is to work out what your archetypes are by doing an assessment, and you get the top 3 and the bottom 1, and the ones in the middle don't matter quite so much. So when the accumulator is not working at its best, you can tend to hoard money, you can struggle to spend it, and the accumulator always likes a good deal, and you can have a good deal from a really positive place, and you can have a good deal by just being in a really contracted energy. So that's the accumulator. That's your inner banker. Then there's Maverick, which is my top one. That's the inner rebel with a cause. So that's the one that loves to take a risk. Quite good juggling the figures, likes to sort of work out the best deal here, there, and do that kind of thing. Quite likes negotiating, but it likes its head. It likes that freedom. And I think what I discovered, because of all the things, the unusual things I have done, I'm really used to being outside my comfort zone. And I think what happened to me when I first started up in business was I'd stopped farming. I'd stopped the sort of massive relationship challenge which I had. I hadn't done any travelling for a long time, so I wasn't waking up every day wondering when I was going to be alive or not. And so a lot of the challenges I was used to had gone out of my life. So the frisson, apart from the challenge of 2 small children and being on my own, which was, you know, that was okay. But so the frisson and that kind of edginess had gone, and I think I then ended up creating massive money chaos for myself because there was nothing else there. So I did that. So the risky stuff came out, and the do this with your money, do that with your money without thinking about it. And so that's you know, the maverick can do that, but then the maverick, you know, the good thing for the maverick to do is build that wealth and then put some to one side so that you can do the risky things and be safer with it and take, you know, it's about taking little steps. You know, I always want a big win. I want the you know, the guns going off and the fireworks and everything, and it's just, you know, the step-by-step stuff which the maverick needs to learn to do. There's a connector. Now, the connector of all of them, brilliant with people, loves to connect with people, would rather not look at money at all. Far rather somebody else did all of that. You're excused. So the connector can be very detached and not look at money to the extent that they, you know, they might be in debt, but they don't really know, and they don't want to know. They kind of sleptwalked into it a bit. But they love to be up there connecting people, doing, you know, putting people together to get stuff to happen. There's the celebrity who, as the name suggests, loves to be out there, loves to buy the big ticket stuff, loves to take, you know, pick up the tab, be very generous like that. Again, slightly disconnected with money in that sense. So might secretly know she's in debt or he's in debt, but I'll pay. It's fine. Don't worry. I'll do this. You know, so because it's all kind of the bit up there and being out there for everybody. There's a romantic. That's the one, again, slightly disconnected, quite probably had debt in, you know, if you've sort of got to middle age and you've got romantic up there in your top three, probably recognises debt because they, if they have an emotional low, they will go shopping, you know. they like to just boost themselves sometimes with, you know, a shopping moment to make themselves feel better. But they love beautiful things, so that's their kind of the inner headedness. They love to go out and buy beautiful things and have beautiful things around. They may well end up working with high-end clients if they're coaching or whatever, because they love that, you know, that lovely environment that all that creates. We've got the nurturer. The nurturer is brilliant at looking after people and doing things for other people, but the trick for the nurturer is to understand how to empower his or herself at the same time as empowering other people, because what they can fall into is disempowering themselves by overlending or overgiving, and then people get used to that. And it's okay, Wilma's always here, she'll do everything for anybody, and then you end up feeling used because you haven't been appreciated, you know. And then the last one, the ruler. Yeah, there's the ruler, and that's the inner empire builder. So you have, with the ruler up there in your top three, you have the ability, if you've got the inclination, to be a great leader, build a great empire of what you're doing and include everybody in it. You have a tendency to overwork a bit. Recognising yourself? You can go and read them later. So they have a tendency to overwork, and even if you've built up a sort of a big pot that you think, you know, most people would think you feel secure with, the ruler can't quite retire. You know, I haven't quite got enough, and they, you know, they do struggle with worrying that there isn't quite enough. And they like lists, they like order, that kind of thing. So that's a brief overview, but they're up there for you to have a little read about. And a bit, you know, towards the end, I'll be explaining or letting you know, because, you know, I'm sure there are one or two of you who might like to know a little bit more about how you can do more of this stuff. So there are two ways actually I'm going to explain towards the end, where you can learn more about it, get to know about your archetypes, and get some stuff dealt with.
Wilma, did you say there was 8 of them? I think you just said this.
Oh, I have just given you 7. Let me see what I've left out. Sorry. The alchemist. Yes, I have the alchemist. So the alchemist is the ideas person, the creator, and always has an ideas list. They can have a bit of a love-hate relationship with money. Again, slightly disconnected. So the accumulator is really the one that's best connected to money. The alchemist, much more likely to go after a good cause and build that, and then be reluctant. We know reluctant admission that, okay, yeah, the money's important, but, you know, I'm just going to go and do this anyway. And again, so they all need to be sort of brought back, but each and every one of them in their own right and working at their highest level and in harmony, you know, equally, you can be equally successful in all areas, but they're quite a useful guide. Actually, I had a client a few weeks ago who, for years and years, about 20 years, I think, he's been a problem solver and a problem spotter in a big government organisation, you know, on their IT systems, and we did the archetypes with him, and although he was, you know, he knew he wasn't happy, what this confirmed for him, because he's a connector, what this confirmed for him that he really knew he was in the wrong place, and he'd gone into property development, and he was thinking he was going to go and just buy property and accumulate a portfolio for himself. But what the connector allowed him to really realise is he would rather connect people and be the guy who puts people together, that makes the deals. And he's just motoring now in the direction of leaving what he does full time and moving into this other thing. He's already, you know, he's sort of got one foot in the other camp now. But it was really interesting to see how that sort of just described his new career choice as a good place to be. So that, you know, there's quite a lot of insight in them when we work with them all together.
So what are the archetypes based on? Where did they come from?
I can't really. Kendall Summerhawk, she's an American coach. She did a lot of background work through archetypes, a lot of reading, and she pulled these ones out from. I think there are tens of, you know, there are lots and lots of them. So she decided to work with these few and then design them around the sort of the other archetypes that are out there, and built the money stuff from her work with people. She built them up like that. So I don't have a really definitive, because it's not my creation. I'm licensed to use them and to work with people with them, but not my creation. That's not very helpful, is it? Sorry. It's honest, but not very helpful. Sorry?
Who was that?
Kendall Summerhawk. She's an American coach in Arizona. Phoenix, is she? Yeah, somewhere down there. Tucson, I think it is. Yeah. And so she designed that, and the money breakthrough method as well, that I trained with her. So yeah, some of the practical things you can do actually to start aligning yourself with money, and it's paying attention to it in a different way. So let me think. How many of you are quite particular about how you manage your receipts? I mean, how much clutter do you have around money, I think is a question I'm asking, because many of us will go shopping and might not even mind our receipts, but we'll go shopping and stuff the receipts either in the sort of pockets in the car, or stuff them into our handbags, or just generally have a pile of receipts around the place, sort of just leaking money energy. So if you start tidying this up, so there are a few areas where we can tidy up on the money clutter. So one of them is receipts, particularly if you're running your own business. Pay for what you're paying for, write on it, put it in a file, so that your receipts are all tidy. And the same with paying bills. Set aside once or twice a month to pay the bills. Make that your money day, if you like, the day you pay attention to money, so that the bills are paid at the same time. You put them, until that day comes around, you put them in a tidy place, in a folder, so that they're not sort of lying around unopened, or they're not lying around with, oh God, I've got to pay that. Because every time you have that energy, it's all sort of negative stuff, you know, leaking out. When you get it tidy and you pay your bill, I know lots of bills are paid automatically now, you know, through direct debits and stuff, but we still do get the odd one that comes in that just needs paying on time. But set up standing orders and direct debits, so that you don't have that worry of, oh God, I haven't paid it. You know, just allow that to be an automated thing, because it just clears up the head stuff around not doing it, not making that decision, putting off that decision. Another big one actually is having conversations around money, and actually something I learned as a result of when I said earlier that I didn't want the conversation with Ian about whether he was going to help me out with the children or anything. And I kind of made my mind up that he wasn't anyway. But if you don't have the conversation about, you know, if somebody owes you money and you haven't created an agreement that, you know, so I'm lending you £1,000 and let's agree that you pay it back at the end of May or whatever it is. if you haven't had that, you haven't got that as an agreement, either a gentleman's agreement between you as friends or whatever it is, you need to go and have that conversation, even if you're not going to get the money. It clears a space, and it's important because if you think about if you, like me, and you believe we create everything in our reality, then by having the conversation, it isn't so much what the response is from the person you're having the conversation with, it's what it triggers in you. So when something is triggered in you, you can then ask yourself, okay, so what's that about? Where does it take you? And then you can unpick a limiting belief or a situation which will open up a place for you to just get more information. So by me avoiding that conversation with Ian, that was just a kind of a bit of a thing rumbling along until I had that conversation, and that was when he still said no, but but the point was I'd had the conversation, and by which time I'd done enough personal development on myself not to be bothered by the fact that all the criticism then came back of, well, you're spending too much, or you're not earning enough, or you're not good at what you do. Whatever it was that came back out, it was all, I knew that was his stuff, not my stuff, but whatever it did trigger in me was my stuff, and I could go and sort it. So the conversation is really important because it ties up a loose end. And vice versa, if somebody owes you money, it's still important to bring it up. Or if you owe them money, it's still important to say, I'm sorry, I haven't done this. It just leaves that place clear, and ties up that loose end and sorts out that energy. I always look at loose change and little odd, the odd penny or the odd 5p as symbolic of a bigger amount, so symbolic of money in itself. So I always pick up anything I see because if it's shown up in my reality, it's a good thing. In fact, it was a while ago now, but I was going up to London for something, and I was walking along the platform at Paddington up to those those barriers which I can never get through properly. I was walking up, and then I was getting close to the barrier, and I could see. Oh my God, there's a £1 coin down there. Am I? Oh, am I not? Am I? Yes, But it's just, to me, it's just symbolic of money. It doesn't matter that it's a penny. Yeah. It's money representing itself to you, and it's showing up. So this stuff is, I think, incredibly esoteric. It's incredibly important to really begin to shift your attitude to all the money. And if you think of, if we're talking about energy and stuff, if you think of all the money that gets handed around in shops and everything, and the loaded negative energy on most of those notes and those coins. I remember the first book I read that said, go and get £300 out and spread it all over the bed and write "I love you" all over it. I thought, you are mad. I can't do that, but actually I can, because if you pour a whole lot of love into anything, it changes, and we all know that. Yeah. And this thing, the money is the root of all, the love of money is the root of all evil. Bollocks. Sorry, I just don't believe it. But I think we're so ingrained with this this belief and this social way of being that we get embarrassed about saying, well, actually, I love money, because people misunderstand still, because they think it's I love money because I'm greedy and I want all the money I can have. It's not that. And besides which, the more money you have, the more you can do with it. We can't do a hell of a lot with 50p, but if you've got 50 million, you can do a huge amount with it. And it's what you choose to do with it. I mean, we could all sit on it and be greedy, but then, that karmic law will come back and bite us on the bum.
Just count it.
You just count it, yes, exactly. It took a long time, didn't it? In fact, I was doing that, and I didn't have 50 million, but I was at the supermarket the other day, and a friend of mine was in a real hurry. she was trying to put the coin in the trolley, and she'd put the coin in 2 trolleys up, so she couldn't understand why she couldn't get her trolley. and she was panicking, thinking, oh God, Wilma's there, she's watching me. No, Wilma was counting her money. She wasn't interested in what Priscilla was doing. yeah, really can't do it. So yeah, I have a complete, I mean, I can remember the time a few years ago when I suddenly woke up to the fact that actually there were a lot of very, very wealthy people out there doing an awful lot of good things, and not all rich people were bad. I thought, oh my God, you know, and you've just been wandering around with this belief, thinking, oh, because that will definitely stop you. If you want to earn more money, that will definitely stop you if you have this underlying belief that all rich people are bad, because, that would make you bad. So you're not going to go do that, are you? You just can't do that. So,
what about everything good in life is free or something? Best things in life is free.
Best things in life are free. It's great to have many things, but I don't know. What do you think about that?
That's the next talk, isn't it?
Yeah. I think it's okay to have free, but the thing about paying for things is it's like when people you don't want to pay your electricity bill, or you don't want to pay your council tax. I know we all have an issue sometimes with what the council provides, but actually we wouldn't have anything if we didn't pay council tax, if we didn't, when you hand the money over to pay for your groceries, it's about appreciating what that money's doing for you. So if you hand the money over with a sense of love and appreciation for what it's actually giving you, you're in Waitrose or Aldi or Morrison's or whatever place you go shopping, and you get cheap stuff. Most people are at the checkout going, oh, shit, look how much we spent this week. Well, actually, if you didn't have that, you'd be bloody hungry at the end of the week. It's about appreciating. If the plumber comes and does a job for you, you write the check or pay the cash, he's mended your mood. It's just what people can do for you. So I think we all whinge too much about having to pay it out, but the more you come from a place of gratitude and what it can do for you, the more stuff comes back, and it starts with being grateful for what you've got. So even if you have uncomfortable amount of debt and you've just got there by sleepwalking into it, and money's not coming in as abundantly and fast as you'd like it, there's a reason for that. It's there to teach you something. So it's about just reflecting on that and just dropping the resistance to where you are, because where you are is where you are. No one else has got you there. And to drop the blame and to accept, and it doesn't come overnight. I'm not saying it just all of a sudden, oh yeah, I love being in debt, this is great. But it's about realising what it's taught you, and then what you can say thank you for what it's taught you, and actually feeling really great. Put yourself in a position of what it feels like to actually pay the debt off. How's that going to feel? That's going to feel absolutely fantastic. So for me, we're going all the way back again to thinking, feeling and acting. It's all about that. Anyway, I could ramble on and take everyone else's slot, which I won't do. But I did want to just let you know about a couple of ways any of you can do some more of this stuff with me, and there are two ways. The first way is to work directly with me on a half-day one-to-one accelerator, really. So we go through your money story, you do the archetype assessment, and we go through what that combination of archetypes means for you, and we specifically pick on one of the major things that are blocking you around money, and I take you through a really deep transformational exercise which pulls that out. I normally charge £500 for that for a half day, but for tonight for you guys it's £297. So if anyone wants to put their name on a sheet and talk to me about that, the sheet's over there on the left hand side. Or if you prefer a group thing, I've got a special day coming up actually, because I've teamed up with a business mentor and coach from Gloucester called Jill Chitty, and she's really very good. And we're running a workshop day on the 4th of March in the Bristol area. It's because money and business are symbiotic, the two just go together really like strawberries and cream. So what we're doing, she's talking about your attitude and your relationship with your business. I'll be talking and taking you through much more of this stuff in more depth. And we've got room for 9 people, but what we're doing, I want to offer it at a really affordable price tonight, because at the end of the day we really want your feedback on how the day went, what we could change, what we can do better, what to cut out, what to keep in. So rather than 297, it's going to be £97. And I've got some forms over there as well for anyone that wants to do that. And shall I do the raffle bit now?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the raffle.
I'll just say briefly.
Yes.
That Wilma's offered this for our raffle, and as those of you who've been here before will know that the reason why we do a raffle is because we raise money for charities. And one of the charities we raise money for is a charity in Africa with HIV orphans. And I've personally been there and witnessed it and seen it. And
Where's
lived
that?
there.
What country?
In a place called Wagusu in Kenya.
Okay.
And it's a place where, if you can imagine it, there's no running water, there's no electricity, and 200 or 300 children in the village are orphans. And that means that their parents have died. And when I went there was a lady who had a little baby boy called Pius, and we were going to go out and try and help her sort things out. Now, she had HIV and her husband had HIV, and they were both dying. And they wanted Pius to have the life that they couldn't have. And when we got there, we found out that Pius had died. And so they were dying and Pius had died. And why Pius had died was because they didn't have enough physical energy to get 7 or 8 kilometres to the nearest health clinic to get a 30p or 60p treatment for Pius. You know, and that's what we give the money to, that sort of thing. And you know, what Wilma's offering is a gift to be able to offer you the opportunity to pay for raffle tickets. One of you will get the gift. The money will go to help these orphans and help them live, help them survive, help them. They don't even. Can you imagine if you don't have parents and you're 9 years old and you got no way of understanding how to earn anything, how to make anything, how to do anything. You know, it's incredible. You cannot understand it without, or maybe you can, but anyway, that's what this is about. So anyway, yeah, carry on.
So my gift is the Money Meditation, which is called Discovering Your Inner Bank Vault. And it's a 20-minute meditation. It's got a really powerful soundtrack behind it. And it takes you right through to understanding that money actually comes from you, from your energetic connection and feeling, and gives you the opportunity to open your inner bank vault. And so you allow the energy of money to flow out, because it's a sort of circular transaction. You know, what goes out comes back, and so the meditation just takes you down and down into this space where you are connecting with your unconscious mind, connecting with the inner bank vault, the inner space, and creating a huge space inside, and just releasing this energy. And it's had some very profound results for people. There was one client who she was arguing with her husband because she's an accumulator with her top card and he's a connector, so he won't look at his money, and she wants to get her hands on it and sort it out. But she didn't know this until she did that, and I suggested that she tried this this meditation, and you know, they now discuss money. She was also completely fretting that she was going to run out. So she's stopped all of that. She's very peaceful about it. She's very comfortable, and he's actually handed it all over to her, so she can now deal with the stuff. So the whole thing has just become a harmonious result, and it's great. So for John and the charity, please, you know, just get a ticket, because actually, while we were travelling, AIDS was just kind of beginning, so we weren't aware of it. But you see these little pickaninnies that, you know, they don't need to have HIV or anything else. They're desperately poor. You know, some of them have, you know, little flies in their eyes, and, you know, flies in the corner of their mouth, and little sores here and there, and, you know, they're not all, you know, they're running around barefoot, but they're not all fantastically healthy. You know, it's a hell of an eye-opener, actually, travelling through Africa and South America and India, any of these places where people are desperately poor, totally changes your perspective on stuff. So, yeah, please, it's a really powerful meditation, and it's a fantastic cause.
And with that, I have to thank you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. And so if you want to do the workshop, which has got an explanation of stuff we're going to be doing on it, then or come and chat. And,
Yeah,
see more
absolutely.
about it.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.